The Ravens draft class is already set, but let's talk about the undrafted players the Baltimore Ravens are bringing into camp. Here we go. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media, bringing you Ravens content every single day. We're on the road to 5,000 subscribers. We're about 100 away. I'd love to hit that before next season start. That's been the goal the entire time. If you're new to the channel, new to this series, make sure to follow along because it's one of my favorite videos, maybe my favorite video to do every year. This is the UDFA tracker, the Undrafted Free Agent tracker. I put out one every single year highlighting all the players the Ravens are inviting to minicamp or rookie camp and talking about them, giving them a little bit of a profile and talking about guys that I think have the best chance of making the team. As always, comment down below your thoughts on every player that I bring up. Let me know who you think is the best chance. And I want to put out a caveat, okay? Unfortunately, not all of these players are going to make the team. I wish all of them could. I wish them all success. So if I don't talk about a player as long as I maybe should have, let me know. I will talk about them if they have good practices. This is just a little bit of a bio for each player so you guys get to know who to look out for when you're looking at rookie mini camp and, Jeff's Reebok articles and everything like that. But as always, I'll put out videos throughout the offseason talking about these guys, talking about who's standing out. I know Joe Evans was a guy a lot of people liked last year, Dayton Wade as well. But this year, let's talk about some of the players and actually all of them, but I'll highlight some of them. But we have to start off with not just my favorite UDFA. Not just my favorite joining the Baltimore Ravens. This was my favorite player in the entire draft class. I took him in almost every single mock draft I ever did. You guys probably got sick of me talking about him, but he's on the Ravens now. Linebacker Jay Higgins out of Iowa. If you don't know about his game, he was an all-American linebacker at the University of Iowa. Terrific tackler, but he hangs his hat on his pass coverage. Terrific flying around, getting interceptions, PBUs, can cover tight ends, can cover in the slot. The problem was when he ran his 40-yard dash, he ran really slow. But this guy is a playmaker. This is somebody that can definitely play on special teams, can be in on third downs, can do absolutely everything you want. He's just not a sideline-to-sideline backer. I think he's a terrific signing. Jay Higgins, he was my favorite player in the draft class. And a lot of people commented when we did sign him, people were commenting on the videos. They're like, we signed Jay Higgins. We signed Jay Higgins. Yes, I'm stoked about it. His likelihood of making the team, it would be as a special teamer. I think they like Teddy Buchanan, which is why they drafted him. But I do think Jay Higgins does provide, vital, aspects of his game, right? Good pass defense and then also special teams tackling. That's what he can do. But next linebacker, I'm going position by position. The other linebacker we brought in was Chandler Martin out of Memphis. A lot of people are really intrigued by this because he's just such an energetic player, flies around the football field. He hits guys. He's a good tackler. Kind of exactly what I would imagine with him is special teams. Okay. The reason why I don't think linebacker in the NFL is he is 5'11". That's just something that you can't get over to play linebacker in the NFL. It's almost impossible to do unless you are you got to be running like 4.3 to be able to play linebacker, and you'd have to be so strong and physical. If he was a little bit faster, I feel like he'd probably be playing safety, be a little bit more of a hard-hitting safety, but I just don't think he has the speed to do it. So I think linebacker is what he'll be listed as, but I'm thinking special teams with him. If he's able to make the team, he'd make it as a special teams guy. He'd be a gunner, or he'd be on the new kickoff rules because he is a good block shedder. And he, again, relentless tackler. So I do think he has a chance, but he's competing with Jay Higgins. He's competing with a lot of other guys, so it would be tough. Next up, into the running backs, we brought in two running backs. The first one is Sone Ntoh. I could completely be butchering his name, out of Monmouth. This guy might have the greatest statistical career ever. 165 career carries, 39 touchdowns. When you watch him, he's a bruising back. He's physical, but he does have good top speed. All right, he's I hate to make this comparison, but it's like Derrick Henry, where he's not making a lot of cuts, but when he gets moving, right, he's hard to bring down. He hit 21.5 miles an hour on a 60-plus yard touchdown run that he had. But I'm thinking we don't have a backup for Derrick Henry, right? We have backup running backs. We have Justice Hill, we have Keaton Mitchell, we have Rasheen Ali. None of them are power backs. None of them are short yardage backs. Son and the other guy that we got are both short yardage running backs. I don't expect them to make the team, but practice squad absolutely could be a candidate because, again, if we need a backup short yardage back, these are the types of guys that we'd bring in. The other one that I mentioned, both short yardage back, is Marcus Major out of Minnesota. He transferred from Oklahoma, so you might know him a little bit better from there, but ran a 4.61 40-yard dash his pro day. He breaks tackles. He's one cut maximum. He's PFF graded him really high in the passing game. That's deceiving. I think he only had like 10 targets. Like he doesn't catch passes, but he had like 10 receptions on 12 targets. Like he has decent hands when he's throwing the ball. He's just not given that opportunity. But again, like I said, these running backs are bruisers. Okay. We are bringing in short yardage running backs to compete. With both of them, my note that I wrote on them was just like backup for Henry. that was my thought process on them. I don't think either of them really have a great chance of making the team, but again, practice squad. And if we do end up needing a short yardage back, knock on wood for any reason, right? You could call on one of these guys. Next up into the wide receivers, we have, I believe, three wide receivers. First up is Kisean Johnson, spelled Kisean. Johnson. First time I've seen it like that, so that's pretty unique. Out of Western Kentucky. He's 6'1". He had 7 touchdowns, 250 yards, 75 receptions. I'm sorry, I think he had 725 yards and 7 touchdowns. I accidentally cut off what I was typing. But he's 6'1". He's pretty big. He's physical. He's not necessarily the best of route runners, but they tried to get him the ball in space. That was kind of their offense with him. Get him the ball on crossers, get him the ball on like hitches and things like that. Have him catch, maybe be able to turn, make a play, make a guy miss. Not necessarily like a huge tackle breaker, just falls forward, is able to run. Like he kind of looks like a running back while he's running. So just kind of a bigger, more physical wide receiver that you want to get the ball to in space. Next up, wide receiver Jahmal Banks out of Nebraska. This is a really interesting guy. I remember looking at him on PFF when I was doing like one of my first couple mock drafts because I was like, "Whoa, there's a 6'4" wide receiver available." He only had about 500 yards receiving, wasn't targeted a whole lot, but he's pretty athletic, really large catch radius. Obviously, he's 6'4", but he moves well for 6'4". But right now, all he really is large catch radius, body control. Would definitely need to develop further. But the Ravens do love getting those UDFAs at the wide receiver position that are bigger and, could potentially develop into a, highlight catch maker all the time, but there might not necessarily be there yet. He was also in college. He played 5 years of college football. So he's a little bit of an older prospect, but pretty intriguing player in terms of just having that kind of size, because we don't have a lot of size in our wide receiver room, a lot of smaller guys that we have. And then the final receiver is Xavier Guillory out of Arizona State, 6'2". This guy, again, another guy that just wasn't really utilized at Arizona State. Limited use, a lot of screens, some jump balls, like kind of deep balls that they were thrown to him. He's not a burner, like he's not a deep threat, but it felt like, okay, they were either bringing him in for a screen pass, something really quick to him, or potentially down the field, could make a little bit of the highlight catch, but that's not necessarily his strong suit. Not a terrific route runner, but the route tree that he was running was pretty basic, but he moves well. He looks good while he's running his routes. It's just, again, he just wasn't utilized a lot, but they had a clear intention with these guys bringing in bigger wide receivers because, again, we don't have a lot. So good to get them at minicamp for our corners to work against, our rookie corners, for our, even our vets, just, having scout team guys really for those bigger wide receivers would be beneficial. Next up, looking at the defensive linemen, the D tackles. I think this guy, the first guy I bring up, has the best chance of making the team of the UDFAs. That's Jason Jones. When I saw we brought him in, I was stoked. He went to the University of Auburn. He is 6'6", 340 pounds. What does that mean? One tech. Why do we need a one tech? Michael Pierce is gone. All right. We did not draft a one tech. We did draft Fub Peebles, who, again, is a really good defensive tackle, but he's not a one tech. We don't have a really big run stuffing one tech. That is exactly what Jason Jones is. He has the chance to make the roster to be our one tech. Who is he competing against? That would be another UDFA, Nash Hutchmaker, I think it's Hutchmaker, out of Nebraska. But he's only 6'4", 310 pounds. But he's another one tech, another guy that is there to just clog up bodies, stuff the hole, and clog the run. just like Michael Pierce. Again, not the level of Michael Pierce was. Michael Pierce was a 9-year NFL veteran or however many years he played, but we need a replacement. And I think Jason Jones and Nash, I'm just saying Nash because I don't want to butcher his last name. Jason Jones, I think, is the best option. But again, if Nash goes out and has a baller, rookie minicamp, could absolutely beat out Jason Jones. It just depends. I think one of them will make the team because, again, we do need that position filled. Next up, I'm going into the defensive backs. We have a fair amount of them. Starting off with Cuddy Robinson. Real name is Marquise, but he goes by Cuddy. Out of Arkansas, he's a 6'1" cornerback. He had 1 INT, 8 pass breakups, ran a 4.48 pro at his pro day. The Ravens want size, they want athleticism, and they want ball skills. He brings that. Pretty raw in terms of a player, but these are UDFAs. We're not getting any UDFAs, which is like, this guy's a superstar. Like, because if they were like superstars, they're round 1 cornerbacks, but he has the traits that we're looking for. Almost all of these guys do. And so I do like this guy. I think he does have a chance. We need corner depth. One of these guys could beat out a longer beam or even a BK. Just depends, how they play. Next up is cornerback Desmond Igbinosun. Could have pronounced that wrong. Out of Rutgers, teammate of longer beam. He ran a 4.6 40-yard dash, so that is a little bit worrisome. Could potentially go over to safety. I know some people that scouted him just said like he was a safety, but I think he did play corner at Rutgers. But he was a good blitzer, good tackler. Honestly, just made me think special teams, right? His skill set. That's kind of what he brought, was just like, oh, wow, he can get to the quarterback. We love blitzing corners, but also we love corners that can play special teams. So if he does make the team, it's to be a special teamer. And I feel like he'd actually be pretty decent at it. So kind of a fan of Desmond. Next up, Ruben Lowry, the third out of Chattanooga, 5'9". He had 2 interceptions. He did return 1 kickoff in his career, but it was back in 2022. So not sure how much that'll impact the Ravens. But I feel like at 5'9", like that's a slot cornerback. We don't have really any backup slot cornerback. So definitely has a chance to compete over there because Marlon is our slot. And I know that, some guys can slide in there at certain points. But if Marlon, knock on wood, were to go down, right, we don't have a guy that can really just slide in and play the slot. So, maybe our Darius is the true backup slot, but just getting more depth at that position, especially in camp, in rookie mini camp, getting those guys is valuable to the team for their development and just getting to understand like different, defensive coverage concepts. And then the final one is safety Keandre Jackson out of Illinois State, 6'1", zone coverage. He just can't really move well enough in man coverage, but he can play zone. But he's a hitter. He's a box safety. You want guys coming over the middle, and you want him to light them up. And that's what I see in special teams. That's what I see out of his game. I think, he has a chance to make the team for special teams, competing with a guy like maybe a Sanusi Kane, who was really good on special teams last year, so before injury. So I think that Keandre Jackson does have a chance. It would just have to be like go out there, ball out on special teams. And then next up, now we're getting into the defensive ends. We only have one. It's a D1 Black out of Temple, 6'2". He's a linebacker / edge rusher, probably like a Sam linebacker, maybe just a 3-4 outside backer. But he had 3 sacks last year, 3.5 the year before. Not an overly productive player, but we just don't have a lot of depth at that spot. Like a lot of these guys, like we bring them in because we need depth for practice. We need depth for mini camp, for OTAs, for rookie camp. It's valuable. So I think that's why we brought him in. But again, not saying he has no chance to make the team. You just got to show out. You got to ball out. Next up, I have the offensive linemen. We have 4. I'm basically just going to say their school, size, and position. I did not have time to watch all of the offensive linemen tape, and I'm going to be honest, unless they're playing really well, like I'll watch like their practice tape and things like that. But Jared Penning out of Northern Iowa, 6'6", 338-pound tackle. Gerard Christian Lichtinen out of Oregon State, 6'8", 328-pound tackle. Reed Holsky, Miami, Ohio, 6'6", 308-pound tackle. And then Ozzie Hutchinson, an Albany guard that's 6'4", 305 pounds. All those guys, we could use some offensive line depth. So there's a chance at least one of them makes the team. I just have no idea which one it would be. I know we love size, but really it's just getting as many guys as possible on that offensive line room to compete, really. And then final player is a tight end, Sam Pitts out of Minnesota Duluth at D2 college, but he was the best D2 tight end. He had 9 touchdowns. Good. He was a former wide receiver in high school, transitioned over to tight end in college. It definitely got a lot better. Was like a 3 touchdown guy for most of his career. And then 9 touchdowns surpassed all his other combined touchdowns in his career so far. So, pretty good development from him. But overall, there's a lot of talent here. The Ravens love their UDFAs. There's definitely some chances to make the roster. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts on all these players. And again, I'm going to have videos talking about them more in detail, just depending on how they're performing, right? If one of these guys has a good practice, I'm going to let you know about it. Thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe for more. Let me know what you want in the videos. Tomorrow, Josh and I are probably going to record our podcast talking about the draft and prepping for the offseason or the off-season workouts and things like that. So let me know. Comment your thoughts and opinions. Thank you so much. And I'll see all of you again tomorrow. Also, check out the new Instagram. I forgot to mention that. Check that out as well.